With a WWE and AEW star reportedly injured and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for August 7th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Speaking about Vince McMahon recently retiring from WWE, Dutch Mantel said on Smack Talk that many were upset by his beliefs. A stigma about it, that's what he was trying to avoid, but after a while to stick to that ideology. I don't think it worked. I think it actually made people kind of piss them off a little bit. On the Cheap Heat podcast, Finn Balor touched on the changes in WWE management and even mentioned Vince McMahon's feelings towards his work as a heel. Obviously, I have a very good relationship with Triple H, but with most of the people in the company too. We have worked together a lot in NXT, first and second run in NXT. So I definitely have like a familiarity, more so than I did with Vince McMahon. But Vince has always been great to me. He was absolutely blown away by my heel work, which he didn't think I had in me, so that was nice to hear. Speaking on his Click This podcast, WWE Hall of Famer Kevin Nash touched on issues surrounding Monday Night Raw, specifically the runtime. I think one of the problems that the company has right now is that Raw is 3 hours long. I thought that was the demise of Nitro when it went 3 hours. 3 hours is too long. It's like asking your fan base every Monday to watch Titanic or Avatar. It's just too long. I would love to see a breakaway of Raw and have Raw be a mature, M-rated show and be played on Friday nights on FX. I don't know where they could get a deal with. With TMZ Sports, WWE Hall of Famer X-Pac talked about Logan Paul's potential in pro wrestling, saying he's a natural man, huge future. A lot of people can be great athletes like him, but he has like an aptitude for this, man. His timing is really good. He grasps the psychology of a match. I got nothing but praise for that guy. He could be like WWE champion material at some point. Gotta call it like you see it. Longtime pro wrestling promoter Jerry Jarrett recently spoke to PW Insider about changes coming to WWE, where he noted that Triple H has a new creative direction for the company. They didn't tell me not to tell anybody, so I'll tell you. Triple H called this week the Raw crew and the SmackDown crew and said, "My father-in-law and Stephanie's father, we admire him and we respect him. He reached success that we would never know without him. We don't know how to do it his way, and we're not going to try. We're going to try a new way." And I think the new way is to put wrestling instead of sports entertainment. I mean, that's pure speculation on my part. Sticking with the game, he recently appeared on Logan Paul's podcast where he revealed his regret with facing The Rock. My only regret of the whole thing with Rock is in 2000. We were poised to have a match at WrestleMania 1-on-1. I think that would have been an epic thing for both of us in that moment. Speaking on the sessions with Renee Paquette, former WWE star Lana revealed that when she was getting into a romance angle with Dolph Ziggler, a week later we got called in. It's John Laurinaitis, Vince, Dolph, and Miro. We had to practice the kiss and Miro is turning red in the corner. Vince is like, "What? We're all adults. What's the problem? We're all adults. It's professionalism. Don't be weird." So we do it and Vince goes, "No, no, no, no. Way slower." He doesn't fully kiss Johnny Ace, but he gets like this close. I mean, it was hilarious. Dolph is dying. That's why we went so slow in that segment. I recently watched it with one of my friends and I was like, this is so slow. But everyone was like, you look so innocent like you've never done it before. And that's what Vince was going for. He wanted it to be innocent like she had never kissed anyone before. It was very weird. After being released from WWE, Miro would make his debut for AEW in September of 2020. While he's been the TNT champion, he took to social media, wondering why Mance Warner got to wrestle Jon Moxley in Rampage. A fan asked, "Are you still in AEW? Seems you had it better in WWE," as Miro apparently liked that tweet. Previously, a fan took to Twitter to criticize those claiming the Young Bucks were attempting to bury FTR backstage in AEW, to which Dave Meltzer replied and agreed. This caused FTR's Dax Harwood to respond, telling Dave to get both sides of the story before speaking on the issue. Now Meltzer has clarified this situation on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying, "It's a long story, but I mean, basically, here's the story, okay? FTR at one point were told at the Chicago pay-per-view that it was going to be Young Bucks against them for all the belts. I expected that match. I thought that was the match to make. And obviously, the powers that be thought that they had been sitting on this Kenny Omega return and Trios belt and Adam Page return forever and ever. And they were waiting for Kenny Omega to return to bring these Trios belts in. And now Kenny Omega is ready to return. So in that sense, that usurped whatever the plan was. The Young Bucks were never supposed to get those belts anyway. That was supposed to be the Hardys. But they really wanted that match. And I wanted that match. And I wished that match happened. But you get to go with what you think is the bigger business. You can always do that match. Bringing back Kenny Omega for this pay-per-view and putting the Adam Page thing back together is something that they hope will build their business up, especially for this pay-per-view show. During her match against AEW Women's Champion Thunder Rosa, Jamie Hayter did not come out unscathed. As Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported, "I'm told Jamie Hayter sustained a broken nose at Battle of the Belts, but finished the match." The injury was said to have occurred after Rosa's knee landed on Hayter's face, following a brainbuster. Speaking of injuries, at a recent WWE Live event in North Charleston, Carmella faced Bianca Belair and Asuka in a triple threat match. Carmella seemed to suffer an injury, but it's not clear what happened. Here's the video. This would cause WWE commentator Corey Graves to write in a now deleted tweet, "Love learning that my wife got injured at a live event via Twitter at WWE." Giving his thoughts on the current pro wrestling landscape, CM Punk gave a ton of credit to AEW, telling the hashtag show, "It depends on your perspective. It depends on how grumpy I am that day. You can go either way. You can say that, oh man, wrestling's dying. Or you can say, well, look at it. It's thriving. For the first time, there's a second company that's viable, and I'm not going to say it's a viable threat. It's just a viable, healthy company. A second place where men and women can get paid to wrestle in ring on television. I know there's people that think Dynamite is the greatest thing in the world. There's people that think Dynamite isn't good. People that think it's somewhere in the middle. It could be better. But because we're having that conversation, I suppose pro wrestling is thriving." Talking about his experience on the canceled Animal Planet reality TV show Tanked, Chris Jericho revealed in the Looper and Randy program that it was a scam. That thing was a money trap. What a scam that show was. It's not on the air anymore, and I would say that to their faces. If anybody knows anything about fish, they said, "What do you want in the tank?" My son was big fish guy at the time. So you have this elaborate tank with all these props and a list and a light-up jacket. Okay, we'll put this fish in. We'll put that fish in. This fish, that fish. When they leave your house at the end of the show, you have this amazing fish tank. It's awesome. Problem is, you can't put 15 or 20 fish in the same water together. They have to acclimate and make sure they can exist. As soon as they leave, they send some dude over who drains the tank to half and then starts to acclimate the fish. The problem is, the fish are dying. My kids are crying because this fish is dead and that fish is dead. Then the pipe bursts and this thing happens. I'm not the only one. Howie Mandel and this guy and that guy, everyone had a problem with the show. Eventually, I think the tank was worth, they said, 40 grand. After all the fish died, 3 different guys were supposed to be cleaning it, but they quit because they didn't pay them. They were supposed to pay for the cleaner for a year. I finally had to get rid of this thing. I had someone come with a forklift because it was so heavy for $1,000 just to get it out of my house. It made for a great family show for an hour, but as soon as it was done and left, it was the biggest nightmare. They should do another show. Tanked Nightmare. Those guys disappeared and the show is off the air as it should be. Tanked sucks. When it comes to potential plans for Kevin Owens, now that Triple H is head of creative in WWE, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that this left many wondering where Owens was and what was going on with him. With repeated references over the years of Owens being a Triple H guy, fans expected him to be heavily featured on the program. We've not heard of an injury or anything like that. Instead, we're told that creative is being cooked up for him for plans moving forward. Recalling his time in AEW, Jack Evans criticized AEW President Tony Khan on the Two-Man Power Trip podcast, saying, "I really liked it. It was a great experience. Tony was a great boss. The only complaint I could ever make about Tony for sure is he is like the king of last-minute mind changes. That would be my one complaint about him as a boss. But other than that, he was always actually very fair." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.